Hi, Jay here with Laguna Tools and a quick DP20 tech tip. I want to talk about the defaults and the default settings for the DP20 drill press. You'll see that the screen is illuminated, and the defaults are what happens when you turn it off, you leave the shop and you come back and turn it back on. What are the defaults going to set to? And there's a few defaults. We'll talk about the first one, which is the tone button. Right now, when I press buttons, you'll hear an audible tone as I touch the buttons and I go through any of the routines. And that, by default, is set to the on position. If you turn it off, now you won't hear any tones as you press the button, but if you do shut the power off and come back later and turn it back on, that tone button will be illuminated and you'll have those tones. And that's a safety feature for the drill press, so you know when you're going through and touching the different buttons. By default, it's always on. If you shut it off, it'll stay off during the entire run until you kill the power and come back. So that's the tone button there. One of the other ones is the RPM setting. Currently I'm set to 500 RPM. If I go through and change that, right now I'm in manual mode, I can change the RPM to anything I want. If I kill the power and turn it back on, it's going to default to the last used setting. So it'll repeat the previous setting. I'm at 1450 RPM, just where I left it last time. And it'll stay there. If for any reason you use a different setting, it'll always come back to what you used last before you killed the power. So that's the default for the RPM setting. The next one is the increments. And you can change the increments right here by hitting the inch millimeter button. Currently I'm in decimal inches. That's the default if you haven't made any other changes. It's always going to boot up and start with the decimal inches. But if you choose a different setting, let's say I go to fractional inches. I'm using and working in fractional inches, and now I turn the drill press off. When it comes back on, the default setting is going to go to what it previously used, and that's the fractional inches here. So it'll store and save the fractional inches, decimal inches, and also decimal millimeters. If you do choose decimal millimeters, it'll have the millimeter increment displayed right here, illuminated, and also the decimal point goes away and the decimal value are smaller numbers. So in this case here, you'll see that I'm at 25.5 millimeters, and the 0.5 is what displays in the small section there. So the default is what you previously used. And again, from start, it's going to be defaulted to the decimal inches. The other one is auto starts and auto reverse. If you are using the auto start function, you can use that by touching the auto start icon here, and you can turn the on button on, and then the drill press will start as you pull the quill. If you turn the drill press off and you cut the power to it and come back on, the auto start function will not be illuminated. It always defaults to the auto start off. And that's a safety feature. If I had the drill press running when I cut the power, the on and off button will also be disilluminated or unilluminated, and you'd have to turn it back on by touching the button. So default for auto start is when you turn the drill press off and cut the power, the auto start will always default to off. The auto reverse function is the same. If you have the auto reverse selected, in this case right here, I've got auto reverse selected. I've got the RPM set too high for the auto reverse function. You'll hear that audible tone. If you have the audible tone off, you won't hear the beep, but the drill press won't start or let you save a job until you turn that speed down. The maximum speed when you're using the auto reverse function is 600 RPM. Now that I have that less than 600 RPM, I've got it at 250, that audible tone goes away. I still have auto reverse selected, but if I reboot the drill press and bring power back up, you'll notice that the auto reverse function is now in the off position. And that really covers the default settings. If you notice that something isn't quite working right, refer to this video. You can see what the default settings should be. This is also in the manual. You'll have a complete list of all the default features there in the manual. If you're looking for any other information on the drill press or more tech tips, go to our website at lagunatools.com, click on DP20 and select Tech Tips.